I'm going to show you everything you need to know to learn Retribution Paladin in Cataclysm Classic. Let's start off with what stat priorities we should be going with. The first thing is going to, of course, be Strength, which increases our attack power and will be on all of the gear we're going to be wearing. After that, it's really important that the hits and attacks that we're actually trying to put out on our enemies are actually hitting them. Therefore, meaning we do need to get to the 8% hit cap and also the expertise cap of 26. The hit cap just reduces the chance at which you will miss, but the expertise stat actually reduces the chance at which your enemy will dodge or parry your attacks. Oh my god. That is just, I can't. Try to put dodge and parry into one word. After that, we're going to go with Mastery, and then Crit, and lastly, Haste. If you're not sure what our Mastery does, it's this here, the Hand of Light. Your Templar's Verdict, Crusader Strike and Divine Storm deal extra damage as holy damage, and your Mastery will increase this by 2.1% per point of Mastery. For the talents and glyphs we're going with, of course, most of our talents are going to be in Retribution, and this is the main build we're going to be going with here. Starting off with Improved Judgment, we're going to be increasing the range of that spell by 20 yards. Crusade, increasing the damage of some of our attacks by 30% and the damage and healing of our Holy Shock by 30%. In addition, for 15 seconds after you kill an enemy that awards experience or honor, your next Holy Light is going to heal you for a much larger amount. If you're not sure what any of these spells are, don't worry. I'm going to be talking through these fully in the rotation part of this video, but I think it's important we look at the foundation and the talents and how they all synergize together first. After that, we're going for Eye for an Eye. All magic attacks against you have a 40% chance to mirror some damage back at the attacker. We've got 3 out of 3 into the Rule of Law, increasing the critical strike chance of your Crusader Strike, Hammer of Righteous and Word of Glory, just adding some crits there. And Pursuit of Justice. You have a 100% chance to gain the charge of holy power when struck by a stun, fear, or immobilize effect. In addition, it's going to increase your movement speed and mounted movement speed by 15%, and it doesn't stack with any others. So we mentioned something called holy power there, and that is this up here below your unit frame. We can have up to 3 holy power, and we will be generating that as we do our rotation. Then we have Divine Storm, an AoE spell that we're going to be using in our multi-target rotation that I'll be talking you through shortly. Long Arm of the Law. Your Judgment has a 100% chance to increase your movement speed by 45% for 4 seconds when used on targets at or further than 15 yards from you. And that is this spell here, unleashing an energy of a seal to judge the enemy for holy damage. So we're going to be putting seals on and then unleashing the seal with our Judgment. And if we use Judgment from far away, as you can see here, we are going to gain some movement speed. We then have the Art of War. Your auto attacks have a 20% chance to make your next exorcism instant, free, and cause 100% additional damage. That is this spell here, Exorcism. You can see normally it has a cast time, and of course it's cost mana, causing holy damage every 2 seconds for 6 seconds to an enemy target. And if they are undead or a demon, it will always critically hit. Lastly, we have Communion on this line. Your auras increase your party and raid damage dealt by 3%, and your own damage is increased by an additional 2% at all time. In addition, your Judgment spell, that's this one we've just spoken about regarding the movement speed, grants Replenishment. What does Replenishment do? Well, it grants up to 10 party or raid members mana regen equal to 1% of their maximum mana per 10 seconds, and that is going to last for 15 seconds. So we've said about how our auras are actually going to increase our stats there. These are our auras here. We've got Devotion Aura, Retribution Aura, Concentration, Resistance, and Crusader Aura. Devotion Aura grants armor to your allies. Retribution Aura causes holy damage to any enemy that strikes a party or raid member. Concentration Aura means that your party and raid members will lose less casting time when damaged, so the pushback they get on their casting when damaged will be reduced. Resistance Aura gives some resistances, and Crusading Aura gives an additional speed boost when mounted. Generally, you're going to go with Retribution or Devotion Aura, with Retribution being for more DPS and Devotion being for survivability. And you can change these as you need, and it is worth noting that only 1 aura per paladin can be active at a time, meaning if there's 2 paladins, you can get both. We've got Sacred Shield. When reduced below 30% health, you gain this Sacred Shield effect. The Sacred Shield is going to absorb damage and increase healing received, and that's also going to last 15 seconds. And that's going to happen again whenever we go below 30% health. Sanctity of Battle. Haste effects lower the cooldown of your Crusader, Strike and Divine Storm abilities. So the more haste we get, the more this is going to come into effect. We have the Seals of Command. Your Seal of Righteousness and Truth and Justice also now deal 7% weapon damage when triggered. In addition, your Seal of the Righteousness now hits all enemy targets within melee range. The seal we are going to be using at all times as a paladin in Retribution is this one here, the Seal of Truth. And you can see top right that this is actually going to be on for 30 minutes. Single target attacks cause holy damage over 13 seconds. So it fills the paladin of holy power, causing single target attacks to censure the target, which deals additional holy damage over time. And it can stack up to 5 times. Once stacked to 5 times, each of the paladin's attacks also deals 16% weapon damage as additional holy damage, and it also grants 10 expertise while active. Remember, we only need 26 expertise to hit the cap, therefore you're going to need 16 rather than 26 from all other effects when you are using Seal of Truth. And then if we unleash the Seal's energy, it'll deal extra holy damage to an enemy, increased by 20% for each application of censure on the target, which we would hope would be 5 stacks. And to do that, that is when we're going to use our Judgment. So our Judgment will unleash the effect of our Seal of Truth. We have Sanctified Wrath here, increasing the critical strike chance of Hammer of Wrath by 6%, reducing the cooldown by 60 seconds, and allowing the use of Hammer of Wrath at all times during Avenging Wrath. So as you can see here, the Hammer of Wrath spell is on a 6-second cooldown, hurling a hammer that strikes an enemy for X amount of holy damage, only usable on enemies that have 20% or less health. When I use this cooldown, Avenging Wrath, increasing all damage and healing caused by 20% for 20 seconds, you can then see that I can actually use my Hammer of Wrath no matter how much health they have. So what this talent does, even though it sounds complicated, is it increases the critical strike chance of our Hammer of Wrath here. It reduces the cooldown on our Avenging Wrath by a minute, so it's 2 minutes rather than 3 minutes. And it's this talent that lets us use our Hammer of Wrath during that Avenging Wrath cooldown window. We've then got Divine Purpose. The following attacks have a 15% chance to cause your next Holy Power ability to consume no Holy Power, and to be cast as if Holy Power was used at level 3. And then it shows the levels there. So remember I said up here that we've got Holy Power and we can have up to 3 Holy Power. So you can see here I've just used my Crusader Strike and now I have 1 out of 3 Holy Power. I use it again, and now I've got 2 Holy Power, and obviously if I use it again, I'll have 3. We have abilities like Inquisition here, consumes all Holy Power to increase your holy damage by 30%, lasts 12 seconds per charge of Holy Power consumed. So if I then use Inquisition at 3 stacks of Holy Power, you can see I've got for 33 seconds Inquisition, increasing holy damage done by 30%. And the attacks that are listed on this talent have a 15% chance to trigger an effect where basically your next Holy Power spell will be cast as if it was at level 3 of Holy Power, but also consume no Holy Power. So we're going to get a free cast of, say, Inquisition, for example, at maximum power, and it's not going to cost us anything. Then we've got Inquiry of Faith, increasing the periodic damage done by your Seal of Truth by 30% and the duration of your Inquisition by 200%. Inquisition is this talent that this spell I've just spoken about, what we're going to be using Holy Power with. And Seal of Truth is the seal I've said that we're going to be using at all time. The last thing we're going to get is Zealotry, which is a cooldown I'm going to talk you through shortly. Then we have Seals of the Pure. Increases the damage done by your Seal of the Righteous, Seal of Truth, that's one we're using, by 12%. 1 point into Divinity, increasing all healing done by you and all healing effects on you by 2%. And then lastly, we're putting a few into the Holy Tree. 3 out of 3 into Judgments of the Pure. Your Judgment increases your casting and melee haste by 9% for a minute, and your mana regen from Spirit while in combat by 30%. Blazing Light increases the damage of your Holy Shock and Exorcism, some spells we're going to be using, and Arbiter of the Light increasing the critical effect chance of your Judgment and Templar's Verdict by 12%. So just some passive effects there. Going on to the glyphs we're going to be using, it's no shock we're going to use the glyph of the Seal of Truth. Your Seal of Truth and Seal of Righteousness also grant 10 expertise. I've already discussed that, and that's where the 10 expertise is coming from on the tooltip. So whenever you do change your glyphs, it will automatically change the tooltips on your seals and other spells that you're using, so you don't have to worry about remembering that. Glyph of Exorcism, your Exorcism causes an additional 20% of its damage over 6 seconds, and Templar's Verdict, increasing the damage of that spell. That's our prime glyphs. On our major glyphs, we're reducing the mana cost of Hammer of Wrath, we're reducing the mana cost of our Crusader Strike, and we've got Glyph of Divine Protection. Removes the physical damage reduction of your Divine Protection, but increases the magical damage reduction by 20%. You can use this glyph or not, depending on what kind of damage reduction you need, and that is for this here. Reduces magical damage taken by 40% for 10 seconds. Whereas if you need physical, obviously don't use that glyph. And for minor, we're going for the Glyph of the Blessing of Might, reducing the mana cost of that. Glyph of Truth, removing or reducing the mana cost on Glyph of Seal of Truth. And also our Blessing of Kings, we're reducing the mana cost on that as well. So just quality of life there on reducing mana cost. And that is specifically mentioning our blessings here. Again, similar to our auras, we actually have blessings we can put on our party and raid members. The two main ones you're going to be using are Blessing of Might and Blessing of Kings. So what does the Blessing of Might do? It increases their melee attack power by 20%, increasing range attack power by 10%, and restoring 326 mana every 5 seconds for an hour. If the target is in your party or raid, all party and raid members will be affected. So you put it on one player, like yourself, and then that'll affect everyone in the raid or party. You can only have one blessing on them per paladin at a time, meaning if there's two paladins, you can use Blessing of Might and Blessing of Kings. Obviously discuss between yourselves who's using what. Blessing of Kings, however, increases strength, agility, stamina, and intellect by 5%, and all magical resistances by 97 for an hour. And then, again, it's going to work on everyone. A few other utilities we have are our hand spells. I'm going to show you here. Hand of Sacrifice, Salvation, Freedom, and Protection. Hand of Sacrifice, on a 2-minute cooldown, places a hand on the party or raid member, transferring 30% of their damage taken to you, the caster. This will last 12 seconds until the caster has transferred 100% of their maximum health. And you can only have one hand on them per paladin at a time, similar to our auras and blessings. We've also got the Hand of Salvation, placing a hand on the party or raid member, reducing their total threat, freedom, removing any movement impairing effects, and protection, completely protecting them from any damaging attacks. Don't put this on the tank, however, because it will actually remove all their threat, because they can't be attacked. And all of these spells will grant you forbearance. This debuff here cannot be affected by Divine Shield, Hand of Protection, or Lay on Hands. What is Lay on Hands? This is another cooldown we have over here. On a 10-minute cooldown, healing the party or friendly target member for 100% of your maximum health. So if they have 200k health and you've got 100k, using this will heal them for 100k. So it's not about their health, it's actually 100% of your health that you're going to be healing them for. And now that we've looked at all of our utilities and glyphs and talents, etc., how does it all come together into the actual rotation, of course? We're going to be doing different things depending on if we have below free holy power or we're at free holy power. Let's start off looking at what we're going to be doing when we're below free holy power, which is of course how we're going to go into the fight. The first thing we're going to cast is Crusader Strike, an instant strike that causes 175% of weapon damage and grants a charge of holy power. So we've used that and now we've got one stack of it. After that, we're going to use our Templar's Verdict, but only if we have a Divine Purpose proc. So what does Templar's Verdict do? It's an instant weapon attack that causes a percentage of weapon damage, consumes all charges of holy power to increase damage dealt. At free holy power, that's going to be 350% weapon damage. Now, I'm saying to only use this at this point if we have a Divine Purpose proc, and that is this here. The following attacks have a 15% chance to cause your next holy power spell to be used as if it's at free holy power, but also not consume any, so it's a free use at maximum power. And whenever we do get that proc, that's when we're going to use our Templar's Verdict. We're not going to use it if we don't have that. After that, we're going to use our Exorcism, specifically if we have the proc that we're seeing here, the Art of War. The next Exorcism is instant free and causes additional damage. Or we're also going to use it if we're not in melee range, because we can use it at range. If for some reason you can't get into melee, that's when we're going to use it. And you can see the proc here on our Templar's Verdict. That is when we're going to use it. So basically, only use your Templar's Verdict and Exorcism if they proc. If the target is below 20% health, we're then going to use our Hammer of Wrath on a 6-second cooldown, or if we're in our Avenging Wrath window. I'll explain shortly when to use your Avenging Wrath cooldown. After that, we're going to use our Judgment. After that, we're going to use our Holy Wrath, sending bolts of holy power in all directions, causing holy damage divided along all targets. And lastly, Consecration, keeping this up at all times. It's on a 30-second cooldown, consecrating the land beneath the paladin, doing holy damage to anyone that enters. And this is our main priority. Basically, generating holy power with Crusader Strike, using Templar's Verdict whenever we get a proc, using Exorcism whenever we get a proc, using Hammer of Wrath whenever we can, unleashing our Seal with Judgment, doing that on cooldown, using our Holy Wrath on cooldown, and using our Consecration on cooldown. When we are at free Holy Power, that is when we're actually going to use our Inquisition. So all of this is below free Holy Power. When we've used free Crusader Strikes to generate free Holy Power, like now, that's when we're going to use our Inquisition. That's what our main Holy Power spender is going to be. When we get free ones, we'll be using Templar's Verdict. And that's really it for the main rotation. What are we going to do in the multi-target or AoE rotation? Well, we're actually doing the exact same rotation, apart from we're swapping out our Crusader Strike for Divine Storm, an instant attack causing 100% weapon damage to all enemies within 8 yards. The Divine Storm heals up to 3 party or raid members, totaling 25% of the damage caused, and it'll grant a charge of Holy Power if it hits 4 or more targets. Literally just swapping out Crusader Strike for Divine Storm. That's all we're going to do differently in the rotation for AoE. One other thing we are actually going to do in AoE that I forgot as I was saying that is that we're not going to take the Seal of Truth. We're going to take the Seal of Righteousness instead, filling the Paladin with Holy Spirit, granting each melee attack additional holy damage, and it also grants 10 expertise, blah, 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 and unleashing this will cause holy damage to an enemy. We're going to use that one instead in AoE instead. So Seal of Truth in single target, Seal of Righteousness in AoE. Now let's have a look at the cooldowns we're going to use. So Avenging Wrath, allowing us to use our Hammer of Wrath and also increasing all damage and healing by 20%. Basically, use this whenever you're using your potions, whenever Heroism or Bloodlust goes up, etc. But apart from that, you should be using it on cooldown. You should also be using your Zealotry together with Avenging Wrath. So technically you could actually put these this way around on the action bar if you want them in a priority list, because Zealotry is going to cost free Holy Power. Your Crusader Strike generates 3 charges of Holy Power per strike for the next 20 seconds. It does require free Holy Power to use it, but it doesn't actually consume any itself. So as you can see here, we need to get up to free Holy Power in order to use Zealotry. So before you do your cooldowns, get up to free Holy Power, then use Zealotry, meaning each strike of Crusader Strike, as you can see here, will generate a full free Holy Power. And at that point, you can use it on your Templar's Verdict as long as Inquisition is up. And then we'll be using our Avenging Wrath, meaning we're in our super duper Paladin mode at that point. Lay on Hands, you've already spoken about. And lastly, we have Guardian of Ancient Kings. Summons a Guardian of Ancient Kings to attack your current target for 30 seconds, as you can see here. While active, you and your Guardian's attacks cause you to be infused with Ancient Power, increasing your strength by 1% per application. After 30 seconds, or when it's killed, you will release Ancient Fury, causing damage divided among all targets. Because you get so many stacks of the strength buff on this, you should actually use this one first as well. So what I would advise to do is basically get your Guardian of Ancient Kings out, let it start building up that strength buff, and while you're doing that, get your 3 stacks of Holy Power so that you can use your Zealotry and then use Avenging Wrath, and that's going to be the way that you're going to actually maximize damage done. Basically then, just to recap, Guardian of Ancient Kings puts a strength buff out every time it attacks. Stack that up for about 10 seconds, of which by that point you should have gotten about 2 to 3 Crusader Strikes out, getting you your free Holy Power, so you can then use Zealotry, you can then use Avenging Wrath, and then continue with the rotation in your super duper Paladin form. Only other thing I haven't spoken about regarding the rotation is this spell here, which is Rebuke, and this is your interrupt or kick to interrupt your enemy's spellcasting. And that's pretty much it for the main rotation. Regarding the enchants and professions you should be taking, this is what I recommend. For strength and mastery, or critical strike, you're going to need to get reputations with the Wild Hammer or Dragonmoor tribe in Twilight Highlands, and also with Pharazane in Deepholm for these enchants for the head and shoulders above my head and shoulders. On the gems, I would say to go for the Bold Inferno Ruby in the red slot, adding strength. In the yellow slot, the Fierce Ember Topaz, adding strength and haste. And in the blue slot, the Etched Demon's Eye, adding hit rating and strength, of course, as long as you haven't already hit your hit rating. For the professions, I actually recommend tailoring, because it has this fantastic sword guard embroidery that works out better than all other professions. Even though it is going to be cloth gear you can make with it, the enchant here is the best if you are trying to min-max. It basically has a chance that your attacks can grant you 1,000 attack power for 15 seconds. And enchanting is the other profession I recommend, where you can put 40 strength onto each ring as an enchant. Then for the actual consumables you're going to be using, the Flask of Titanic Strength increases strength, the Golem Blood Potion increases strength, so does the Beer Bast Crocolisk, and a Mythical Healing Potion is the one you'll be using if you do need a healing potion. And that is pretty much it, guys. That is how you're going to play Retribution Paladin in Cataclysm. Cataclysm Classic. I'm getting so tongue-tied in this video, I really don't know what is going on. My throat is so dry from the hay fever, and filming these videos is literally killing me right now. But you know what? We got to do what we got to do, right? If you did enjoy this video, or you do have any other questions, etc., please do consider joining my Discord, where we can help you out of anything else you may need. And if you would like to support the channel, get any behind-the-scenes videos, written guides, Excel spreadsheets and LVY profiles, among other things, then do consider joining my Patreon. A lot of people, especially in gaming, do use ad blocks these days, and us small gaming creators don't make much on YouTube as it is, and that is the best way that you can support the channel if you would like to. If not, of course, that is absolutely fine, and just by watching, liking, and subscribing, you help out massively as well. And if you are looking for other specs, whether it's for Paladin or other classes in Cataclysm Classic, click this playlist here because I've done them all ready and waiting for you.